Hello, everyone. Welcome to the ecosystem experience. We'll be discussing together how Sopra Steria is bringing their multi-agency command and control system into the cloud thanks to OVHcloud. We will be discussing this together with Lena Kay from Sopra Steria. Maybe some words.
Yeah, my name is Lena Kay, and I work at Sopra Steria as a consultant and business analyst. Here at Sopra Steria, Germany, we work in different sectors like banking, insurance, manufacturing, and the public sector. So that's why I work. Here we are delivering, besides many other things, software solutions to command and control centers, like the fire departments, but also other security and rescue organizations.
Thank you for this introduction, Lena. So Khaled Alab, I work at OVHcloud as a sales director enterprise in the DACH area. So can I ask you something, Lena? What is exactly the challenge you've been facing by supporting these command centers?
Yeah, so what is the actual challenge? In the public sector, digitization process is somewhat slower. In the Homeland Security field, we have high security IT facilities, especially the bigger organizations. They have big on-premise facilities, which require a high amount of personnel for maintenance and just keeping everything running. So in command and control centers, IT infrastructure is traditionally kept on-premise, and it's in highly secure facilities. In case of fire departments, only the really big cities where resources and people are more easily obtained can afford these big on-premise data centers. So when we're looking at the more rural control centers, which are staffed with minimal personnel, they barely have any funds for technology. And really their focus and know-how is not in technology. It's in putting out fires and rescuing people. So this is where we come in and offer a solution that has the main goal of the fire department in mind. Our solution is available 24/7, offers a high functionality, and supports the dispatcher optimally in saving lives.
Thank you, Lena, for telling what your solution is. Can you be a little more explicit on how does it work today, exactly, this solution?
Yeah, so we are actually facing this challenge because the historical solution is not working for the small rural fire departments. It only works for the big fire departments. So I would like to just go back in time a little bit. Around 36 years, when Sopra Steria started with the first command and control software in 1984. We have, of course, developed new command and control systems since then. For example, the first version of IGNIS, which went live in the year 2000. Our solutions were continuously improved. But in 2012, we started a redesign of IGNIS because we noticed that the advance of technology was just growing at a really fast pace, and just adding on to old solutions wasn't doing it anymore. So we started developing IGNIS-Plus and went live in Berlin in 2017. IGNIS is now operating in 3 of the biggest fire departments in Germany. And of course, we're getting a lot of questions from smaller and medium-sized fire departments. They're always looking at what the other big fire departments are doing. So just to give you an idea of the scale that we're talking about, in Berlin, when we go to the command and control center, they are dealing with thousands of calls a day. These result in approximately 1,500 operations. So for every emergency call that the dispatcher has to take, he records the information about the emergency, he dispatches the fastest resources, he tracks the operation until every engine has returned home. So with 4,500 employees, Berlin is by far the biggest fire brigade in Germany. This is what our solution actually looks like today. When we were designing IGNIS-Plus, we were cooperating with the Technical University in Berlin. They have a chair of user experience. And we really focused on how we can best support the dispatcher when dealing with operations in a high stressful environment. We did a whole study about work ergonomics and how we can design the user interface to not overload the user while he might be on a call with a panicked caller. But we still need to offer all the information that is necessary and relevant.
Lena, you're really saving lives, helping the people to decide faster, putting them the right information at the right moment. You're behind the scene. So what is happening behind the scene exactly?
Yeah, the core part of the problem is really the infrastructure point of view. In this schematic view is a high availability IGNIS-Plus system. It uses a 3-tier architecture of client, application server, and database. For the clusters and high availability, we use load balancing and stateless web service requests. Such complex infrastructure might be the norm or the bare minimum for some really big security organizations. But at rural command and control centers, this is more of a non-affordable utopia.
How did you find a solution? How did you think about making it more efficient and making these types of saving lifetime available to many, even smaller brigades than the one in Berlin?
Yeah, the idea is to take IGNIS-Plus to the cloud and offer central hosting for several individual organizations. Hosting at a centralized location gives the opportunity to offer a command and control system that requires less specialized hardware on-premise of the organization. Because we're in the cloud, where we can use out-of-the-box security features like DDoS protection, for example, we can also access internet and web technologies. And these are usually not really used in command and control centers because the internet is considered bad and too much of a risk. So, additionally, we are expanding the networking of public institutions. For example, in case of a catastrophe, organizations can easily communicate with each other and share resources. So in the end, by bundling the capacities and the know-how that's necessary for the infrastructure, we can not only improve service quality and availability, we also improve the communications between the individual organizations. Now we've seen the benefits that we can get from moving to the cloud, but what about the regional and local differences between organizations? Does one size really fit all? Because in my experience, organizations in the public sector, they're very proud of their processes, especially of the power to decide over these processes on an individual level. Also, the regional knowledge of dispatchers is a very important part to be considered. So a centralized location for several organizations wouldn't necessarily be beneficial. It is very important that we still make sure there is a regional autonomy, especially when it comes to the data of every organization. Every organization has different resources, and with this I mean fire trucks, ambulances, specialized vehicles, and so on. There's also process configurations and individual organizational structure. Even though all of this data is stored in a shared central location, every institution still has the power to configure and administer their own resources, their processes, and the organizational structure. We are proud to say that the software architecture and functionality of IGNIS-Plus enables us to take it to the cloud. There is no need anymore for on-premise infrastructure. So this really reduces the complexity for the on-site infrastructure management. This can free up resources that take care of more important things. This also enables us to implement more complex and up-to-date solutions and products. We can integrate online services more easily. There is new ways of collaborating with neighbor command and control centers, and in general, also with the other governmental institutions. Not only do we see benefits in freeing up resources, we're also looking at a significant better cost structure. if the cost for a central hosting location is shared by several organizations, it gets cheaper for everyone. So one of the biggest benefits that we've seen so far is the scalability. Traditionally, the sizing of the on-premise infrastructure is based on peak loads. So for example, when we're talking about the 1,500 operations in Berlin, this can change when we're talking about days like New Year's Eve or an upcoming storm. Then the number of operations can easily multiply. So saying it more simply, most of the machines there are bored the majority of the year. So the flexible scalability is a huge benefit to critical infrastructure systems, and everyone really only pays what they actually use.
So you're really doing change-making activities here because you enable the rescue teams to focusing on rescuing by bringing them the latest technology at the best cost, basically, and at the same time fostering the collaboration between the various departments in an area if a storm is reaching. So all the collaboration is fostered and is actually helping the people to save lives at the end of the day. So just one other question I have is, you selected to go to the cloud. In Sopra Steria, you're really working with multiple clouds and so on. So why did you select OVHcloud amongst all the other options you have been having?
Well, OVHcloud actually brings a range of benefits that we haven't seen to this extent in any of the competitors. One of them being the extensive standard IT infrastructure building bricks. So the usage of open source components like OpenStack allows the customer to build comparable on-premise stacks. So we can integrate local legacy systems. Also to mention the fast deployment of virtual and physical servers within minutes. And especially for us in the security sector in Germany, one of the biggest benefits is definitely a European sovereign provider with local data centers. I mean, using their own high bandwidth network is really something that we don't see often. Data sovereignty becomes even more important when we're looking at recent decisions of the European Court, for example, regarding the Privacy Shield. So at the moment, it is not even up for a discussion to use one of the big American cloud providers, for example. When we did the cost estimations for IGNIS-Plus in the cloud, we looked at the requirements to take it to the cloud. And we found that for this solution, we were able to cut costs by half by using OVHcloud compared to other big cloud providers. And not to forget the long-time international relationship between OVHcloud and Sopra Steria. Thank you very much, Lena. So if you have any questions regarding to what we've been saying so far, how we help changing the world of rescuing, bringing the latest technology to all the rescue teams across Germany here, happy to have the live chat with you now. Up to you, to your questions.